What's going on, everybody? We back again. What's going on? How you feeling today, big brother?
Man, I'm feeling pretty good. People just don't know what we go through before we come on. The last minute preparations, running and doing something, and then coming on. But I'm glad we've been doing much better as far as technically speaking. We're able to come on now. I know for a moment there we had a lot of glitches and we weren't coming on, but we're back now, and we got that subject that we have to continue to talk about, Chaz, because I think it's important. We were talking earlier before we even got on tonight. We were talking about why is it that we don't like to talk about developing character. That's
Right.
important. And you had shared something with me about some people don't like to be told what to do, even if it's for their own good. And I don't know why we're like that though, Chaz.
It's a mindset. I think since we've been brought up as kids, we've always had that thing. I can't wait till I get grown so I can
Yeah.
do what I want to do. And then when we get quote unquote 18 years old, we feel like the sky's the limit. Nobody can tell us anything. And at that point, we feel like if you try to correct me, you're trying to belittle me or make me
Yeah.
put me down. And that's a shame. But once again, you should be open to criticism. But that's just how it is in society where we don't want to be told anything as adults, even if it is for our benefit.
And the psychosis on that is this, Chaz. I know we're going to get into it here shortly, but the psychosis is this. We say that we're grown, and like you mentioned, we don't like to be told to do anything because we're grown, but in
Right.
our minds, we're not grown. We're like teenagers. We're like little children. We're infants
Right.
in many cases, the way
Right.
we act. In other words, our behavior is like that. So
Right.
in one breath, we're talking about a number, but in reality, we act like we're not. And that's why I think it's important that we continue this discussion on talking about what character is and then how to develop it. This broadcast can be seen every Wednesday at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time, 7 o'clock on the East Coast and the Midwest. And we're glad that everyone tuned in. So, having said that, Chaz, let's talk about what character is and then we'll talk about how to develop it.
Number 16, learn from
No, you cheat me.
criticism.
No, you cheat us, Chaz. What about character? Don't we have something at the beginning about what character is? Yeah,
Oh, I'm
there it is,
sorry.
Chaz. Go, don't cheat me, man. You ain't gonna cheat me, man. All
Well,
right.
character is the kind of person you truly are on the inside, and that basically deals with integrity, loyalty, being kind. And I stick on loyalty too because I think that's a big thing. You know, it's easy to be with someone or like someone when everything is going good, but when things go sour, things go sideways. Are you still going to be there for that person, or are you just going to get off the bus too when things start going left? So those are my big components of why I think character truly shows you what's on the inside.
Yeah, because when you look at character, man, you have to look at what this thing is saying. It says character is it's the kind of person that you are on the inside. See, we
Right.
have to slow it down. We have to take our time and talk about that because that talks about what's inside of us. It's how we treat people. It's how we treat ourselves. See,
Right.
we like to gloss over that many times as opposed to slowing everything down and saying, what kind of person am I? Am I
Right.
a liar? Am I a cheat? Am I a procrastinator? Am I do I want to be more than I actually am?
Right.
So all these types of informational pieces we're talking about, they must be put into the goal of what character is. But tonight, I think we're going to shift gears because we talked about character earlier. But tonight, I think we're going to talk about how do we develop character? How do we get to be the people that we should be in a good way?
Okay. Now, correctly, number 16, it says learn from criticism, use correction to improve. And
Uh oh.
we
Uh
have to stop
oh.
being so judgmental and stop thinking that everybody's out there to get us and thinking nobody can tell us that. Because here's the thing. When you say, for example, brother, you need to lose a couple pounds or you need to uh uh get your car detailed a little bit better. People always think that those are fighting words. That's not always to belittle you. They're making an obvious observation, but that's not always to criticize or to make you feel bad. It's for your improvement. But us as Americans, we sit back and think that the world is out to get us. Everybody's, hating on us. And it's not always about criticism. It's just people observing some things and trying to help you improve, basically.
Yeah, and we need to do a broadcast on criticism, just the word itself, because I don't think we really truly understand what that means when we say people need to be criticized. We all should be criticized. Then we think that every time someone says something that is negative, there's what's called constructive criticism. And this is why we have not developed the proper character in our lives because we don't learn from criticism. if someone tells us something over and over again for our good, instead of trying to improve, we get angry because we don't want to be told what to do. As we said earlier, I'm reading a book, The Souls of Black Folk by W.E.B. Du Bois, and he's
Okay.
dealing with how race has really critiqued us in a negative light. And so
Mm.
we do the same thing to ourselves as individuals. And I just think that we're so far behind when it comes to learning from our mistakes or learning from people telling us things to do. And that's why it's hard to have a discussion with people nowadays.
We got a couple comments. Let's go ahead and dive into those real quick. We got Sister Marie. She fires in here. She says, Hotel family. We appreciate her. We got Sister Sakina. She fires in here. She says, peace and blessings, brothers. We appreciate you two sisters for logging in. And then as we go ahead and move on to number 17 here, it says, show gratitude, be thankful. Now, this was a little picture that I dialed up. This is a family that's getting ready to eat. And it seems like this brother is happy to have food, happy to have vegetables, happy to have looks like wine or whatever with his family. They're thankful because they're saying, look, there's people in India, Russia, and these poorer countries who don't have this food, who doesn't have this water. Now, we take these things for granted as Americans because we're so used to every day having tacos, having enchiladas, having all these marvelous meals. But you look in these third world countries, brother, these people have to walk miles upon miles just to get water. And this is a family saying, you know what? It may not be much to y'all, but we're thankful for having this nice meal to eat. And we're going to go ahead and have a good time. That was what I gathered from this picture.
And that's very well said, because even though we have a lot of issues as African Americans, we have a plethora of issues. And I mean, we can talk about those issues, but as you just mentioned, a lot of us, we take things for granted. We take life for granted. We just take our health for granted, and we're not thankful. And whether a person believes in a religion or not, I'm not here to start that tonight. But what I am saying, many religious folks, in a positive light, many
Uh-huh.
religious folks, they're thankful because their Bible or their Quran or their books teach them to be thankful. And I think that's a good thing. So, I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, because every time I speak, people don't understand. I'm not coming down on what they believe, but it's like there's some good things in these books if we just apply them. But a lot of us, we don't even apply what's in the book. But again, this person is sitting down, and this is a beautiful image. They're taking time to even eat with their family, because nowadays we don't even eat together. We just eat whenever.
Mm.
And so we don't show this gratitude. And that's why many of our character is not developed, because we don't take time out to do this, as we would say, the small things.
Well said. Let me go ahead and go back to the comment section. I got a couple new viewers or new people in here. Brother Ray Fox
Uh-oh.
here. He says
Uh-oh.
Black Power. What's going on, Ray? We appreciate you.
Uh-oh.
And Sister Mashonda fires in here. She says, hello. We appreciate you guys for logging in.
Chaz, let me
But
ask you a question before we go on. Let me ask you a question. Why don't we talk about developing character more as a people when that seems to be our Achilles heel? What do you think the reason is for us? We don't discuss this enough.
for two reasons. Number one, it's not important to a lot of us. And number two, we're so busy with our day-to-day lives, our work, our kids, going to college or going to pick up an extra shift. We're too busy with our own daily lives that this is really on the last thing on our list. So those the answer to your question is, number one, it's not important. For number two, our day-to-day lives, we got so much going on that we're not really interested in these kind of teachings.
But see, Chaz, and we can continue to go on, but I understand what you're saying. But when we look at us, we're talking about what's on the inside. That should be important. Like you just mentioned, those other things, they are important as well. But what's on the inside of us should be paramount. It
Right.
should be first. But again, we, like you mentioned, we put the cart before the horse, and that's why a lot of us, our characters, you mentioned one week, you said that our character is so low. A lot of us don't even get. And I want to talk a little bit later on about where we get it from. Where do we get this character from?
Well, this is a prime example. I'm glad you said that. And I dialed this up. I typed it on Google, just thugs walking around. And I know I shouldn't have put this in there, but this just goes hand in hand with what you said. Now, these are guys look like they're MS-13 gang members, and they got these bandanas on. They're walking around. They're looking for trouble. Now, I wish that this weren't true, but these are really one of the first images that I found on Google that goes hand in hand with, like you saying, that we're going around, we're looking for trouble. We're not hanging with the right crowd of people. and go ahead and move on to this next one here. It says, stand up for what is right. Have courage to do the right thing. And I'll take it a step farther to say, do the right thing, even if it costs you your life. You see, we're so comfortable, brother. We got these houses, these apartments, these cars. Everything is comfortable for us. But when people really push us to the limit, push us to the brink, we fold. We're chickens. We're scary. We're timid. If something really pushes us, we don't want anything to do. In fact, when somebody does push us, we'll, okay, sir, I'll do it. Yes, ma'am, I'll do it. We never have any pushback, especially if it costs us our lives. And that's why, like you said, and I'm ready to pass it back to you, people like Martin Luther King, Kennedy, Malcolm X, these were guys that put a lot on the line. And these dudes' lives were basically at risk every day. Can you imagine living through that? But they weren't afraid to lose their lives. But us Americans, please, we don't really, we're not interested, especially if it costs us our livelihood or our lives.
Chaz, that was well said, because I think about some of the revolts, as they call them, which they weren't revolts, but the uprisings like Denmark Vesey, Nat Turner, the Stono Rebellion, the German Coast Uprising, the largest so-called slave revolt in the United States history in Louisiana. Over 500 people wanted to overthrow Louisiana to become established our own black state, that kind of thing. But they died. They caught them. They put the rebellion down. They hung these people. They chopped off some of their heads and put them on posts. I mean, I can go on and on about all these rebellions, but we don't want to stand up for what's right because we're afraid, man. We're afraid to lose the things that we have, the entertainers, the athletes, and many of us, we don't want to stand up for what is right. And we're struggling, we're suffering. And that's why our development of our character is lacking right now.
I totally agree 1,000%. And I had made a mistake there. I was trying to add a different picture on.
You sure did. That was a big mistake right there.
I was trying to go back to let me see here. This one right here, because I found this one on Google. It says, stand up for what is right, even if you stand alone. And this is by some lady, Susie Cassim. Shout out to her. And she's right. She's saying you got to stand up for something because we got so much coming at us. You can't be so afraid to lose everything. In fact, you get more respect when you do lose a lot. And people says, wow, this brother or sister lost their home or lost their livelihood, and they still fought for our rights. That's what this sister Susie is talking about. So that's the picture I was trying to get back at there. Number 19. It says, always keep an attitude of self-improvement. One's character is always growing. And it's a constant day by day, night by night, week by week process. Nobody's perfect. There's always room for improvement. There's not one person on this earth that grew up, went to college, and they got the degree, and they were perfect. They could never improve. They just had all this stuff figured out. If you understand that you are a human and you're flawed and you make mistakes, you got to know that there's always room for improvement. But I think the problem is, brother, we think too much of ourselves. We think too highly of ourselves. We're too cocky, and we think, can't anybody tell us anything?
And if we're smart, we will plug into what you just said, because throughout this life, the journey that we're all on, we learn character from our family. Growing up, our relatives tried to teach us, and they did teach us, but they were always in the process of teaching us what character is, how to be a better man, how to be a better woman, how to be a better boy, how to be a better girl. We learn from our culture. Now, there's a lot of things in our culture that we don't want, but if you look at it close enough, you'll find some nuggets of truth about character. Those who believe in some type of deity, you'll find that character. If you look at what they're teaching, the truth of it, the educational aspect, as you go on throughout life, you'll find good truth in education, in history, and then also some of our friends have been the model citizens to teach us what to do and what not to do. But we have to want to be able to improve ourselves, Chaz. And that's what we're saying. You got to have an attitude of self-improvement, because our character is always growing. No one's perfect. And so we got to stop acting like we are. And then we always say no one's perfect, but we act like we're perfect. This is why people don't like to engage in these kinds of discussions.
Yeah. And I was going to add on, like I told you a few minutes ago, brother, a lot of us, we really do. We think too highly of ourselves. And I told you, like last week, there's a character called main character syndrome. I believe 95% of us suffer from that, where we think that when we walk around in society and at our jobs and in the grocery stores, people cut us off and make mistakes. We think that people owe us something, or that we are just so better than others that Everything revolves around us, and we have to check that. We really do. Number 20, embrace failure. Treat mistakes as opportunities to grow. I'll let you take that one and I'll piggyback off of it.
Yeah, we have to embrace what we come up short on. Okay. In other words, even when we make mistakes, we can learn from them. That's all they're saying. And when we do that, that develops character. Many of us should say we learned our character from adversity. We don't ever say that. It always has to be something good. But we can learn from adversity. When we're going through tough times, if we really look at what's going on, it teaches us something about ourselves. If we look into this thing, we can learn character from tradition as we were raised up. See, our families taught us character. We can learn character from experience and also from mentorship. So it's like we have to begin to understand that character is something that teaches us ethics, it teaches us morality, it teaches us civics. But again, we don't like to have this discussion, and that shows you where we are as a people in many instances, because a lot of us, we don't know what to do when the time gets tough. Instead of learning from it, it defeats us. And that's why we're grown people now struggling the way we're struggling.
I was just here to say that, where when we get mistakes, a lot of us, we're so easy to fold up like a cheap suit. We just want to go in and lay down and not be bothered. We have to learn how to say, you know what? Yeah, I made a mistake, or this didn't go out the way I planned, but this is an opportunity for me to grow. But let me ask you this real quick. Why do you think we have this mentality to where things go sideways? Why are we so quick to shut everything in and shut it all down?
It goes back to what we're talking about tonight. Our character is low because you think, I know you and I just had this discussion. You say some of us have no character. And I always say some of us, we may have character, but it may be small. But because we have not been taught the right thing and we don't agree with what's going on in our lives, we don't know what to do about it. This is why I'm telling you, Chazz, many of us adults, we should be leading this conversation on character because we've had an opportunity to live through this life. We've had an opportunity to go through all the things we've gone through and learn and develop and be the people that we should be. But instead, we have regressed. We've gone backwards. And instead of getting older, we're getting, I'm not going to say what my auntie said, not stupider, but instead of getting older, Chazz, we're digressing. It's like we're going backwards. You know how people grow is they say, I'm 5, I'm 10, I'm 20, I'm 30. But when we get older, we tend to go backwards. I'm 60, now I'm 55, now I'm 40, and then I'm 30. And we go back to our childhood. And that's what you see today because nobody wants to at least embrace the things that we can't do and learn from them, man.
Okay. Got a couple more comments. Sister Barbara fires in here. She says, Hotep Kings, we appreciate her. And Brother Ray fires in behind her and says, can't change the system or the world until we change ourselves. That's absolutely true. It starts from within. We have to first, they say, admit that you have a problem. And once you admit that you have that problem, take the necessary steps to get better. But see, we love to point the finger at others, in which other people do have their issues. But if we don't start from within and work on ourselves, the other stuff basically means nothing. So he's absolutely right with that.
Yeah, he is definitely correct on that, and it's really important what he said at the end. He said we can't change the system, and we always talk about this, but until we change ourselves, Chazz, I just don't understand. And again, I may sound like I'm hard on adults, and I may be, but the reason that I sound so hard on myself as well is because, Chazz, we've been through so much in this life, man.
Yes.
And we should be able to lead these young kids coming up to show them what to do, how to develop character, how to be men, how to be women, how to do what we say we're going to do, how to not procrastinate, how to be on time when we say we're going to be on time, how to be dependent upon, as we talked about last week. And I can go on and on. But I'm telling you, there's a psychosis. And again, we always say we're going to do a broadcast on different topics. But one day we've got to do a broadcast on psychosis because a lot of us are sick mentally, but we don't see that. We think we're normal because we have a job, we have a house, we have a car, we have an apartment. We think that we're normal, but we're not. So I think that's one of the issues, that our developing character is being neglected.
Okay. We appreciate you guys for commenting. Go ahead and keep them coming. As we proceed to number 21, It says, remain curious. Never stop asking questions and being inquisitive. You should want to know some things. And there are some people in society who feel embarrassed. I'm not going to ask him or her that question because I don't want people to think I'm dumb. Now, you should ask these questions no matter what. Now, we have what you call this pride about ourselves. We don't want people to think that we're not smart or we're not
Yeah,
intelligent.
yeah,
You got to
yeah.
ask these questions anyway. And there's no shame, because the shameful thing is not asking the question. And that comes back to haunt you later on in life because you were too afraid to ask it, where you shouldn't care what people think. You shouldn't. Now, don't be honest. Don't say something stupid here, but I'm saying basically be on target and ask and stick to the topic. But you shouldn't be afraid to ask questions, and you shouldn't think less of yourself if you have questions.
These are some very salient points, Chaz. In other words, to develop character, we must remain curious. See, that's what develops character. We gotta always ask questions, and this is one of the signs of a person whose character is low, as you often say. It's because this these people, they never ask questions. You know why they never ask questions?
They're
Be-
ashamed.
no, because they think they know everything. See, if
Wow.
you know everything, you don't need to ask questions. And if
Right.
you're always arguing with people, you think you know everything, and I think I know everything. That's why we're arguing, because we don't want no one to tell us anything that's true. So this is why I'm telling you, Chess. And as the older I get, man, the more I see that we as a society, us African Americans, us people in the diaspora, us who are in the belly of the beast, we have some serious internal issues when it comes to character development, but we don't want to discuss it. We don't want to address it.
We don't. Now, as we go ahead and move to number 22, it says respect differences. Appreciate that others think and live differently. Now, I had made a mistake earlier, but I'm going to come back to this picture because I was trying to illustrate something here. Now, I don't care for Bush. I'm not a Bush guy, but there are people in America who love Bush, who thought he was a good president. But the point is that I'm trying to get at here is there's going to always be different people who have different opinions. You can't sit up here and say, for example, brother, you a Bush guy, I'm never talking to you again. If I see you wearing any kind of Bush decals on your car or anything, I'm gonna come over there and smash them up. This is the kind of society we are, even with me. Now, I'm a Kennedy guy, but there are some people who may not like him. But the fact is, brother, when people have differences, and especially in the political arena, the elders and even some of the young ones, they let this stuff take them over. They stop speaking to one another, fist fights. All you got to do is wait closer to the election day. People's true colors are going to come out. And that was why I was showing you these two pictures here, is because people are going to always have differences. No, we may not like these people, but the point is you got to learn to respect people's opinions without always getting violent, basically.
And I want to put a cherry on the top of that too. I'm gonna put a cherry on the top of that. Here's another chapter, what you just said. Sometimes we have to do what we complain about. We don't appreciate what others say, but then do something about what they're saying, especially if it's negative,
Okay.
especially if it's something that's racist, especially if it's something that's degrading, especially if it's something that's belittling or disparaging. So, what I'm saying is quit complaining and do something about the situation, and then we'll have a better understanding of life, because most of us, we sit around and all we do is bellyache. We complain, and we should, because there's a lot of things to complain about, but we never do anything about what we complain about. So we're going to die bumps on a log that just never did anything about the situation. So again, that character development will never be uplifted if that's the mindset that we have.
I'm gonna ask you one more question because these comments are loading back up. But let me ask you something in the political debates in the political arena. Why do you think some people, and I know a lot of the elders do, but some of the young folk too, why do we let this stuff take us over the edge around that time? What is it about politics that makes us just lose our mind?
We have a fatalistic mentality, meaning that we see no hope whatsoever.
Okay.
So therefore, no matter what happens, we're going to complain. And if we weren't on this broadcast, I'd use the B word. We're going to do that all the time because that's how we are, okay? But we're not going to do anything about what we complain about. So all of our lives, we're going to tell you what's not happening. And it's true, it's not happening. But we won't formulate different groups to do the things that we're complaining about. So
Okay.
that's why I have a problem with many of us because we always talk about what we need to do or what's not being done, but we don't formulate that which we need to do to make this a better world to live in because our character is very low.
Okay, that was well said. I appreciate that good statement. As we go ahead, brother Ray fires in here. He says systemic racism can't exist without Black people's cooperation. Um, Sister Barbara fires in behind him and says, I think we don't do enough of self-reflection to build character. Many of us have developed social media characters because whatever the media puts out there, that is what we develop. Trying to be like others, how they look, etc., in my opinion. She's right. And I'm going to just start at the top half where she's saying that many of us, we develop these characters because I think we like some of the people that we see. We try to emulate them at certain aspects. But the thing is, she's saying that we are trying to be like others when basically we need to be like ourselves because that's how we were created.
I gotta say something about that. I gotta say something about that comment.
Okay.
Raymond made a great comment earlier, but I want to say something about this one here. Yeah, I want to say something about this next one.
Okay.
Now, I understand what the sister's saying. I do, because she says, I think we don't do enough of self-reflection to build character. And that is true. So let's not really be technical, but I want to piggyback off that and throw a monkey wrench in one part of it.
Okay.
I think we do enough self-reflection. I think we know how we are, Chazz. You know how you are. I know how I am. The problem is we don't do anything about it, you see. See, she's saying that and this is true in many of our cases, we don't do enough self-reflection. But I think we do enough self-reflection, but we don't do anything about what we think about. If you follow what I'm saying.
I see.
I can tell you all I want to. I need to do this, Chazz. I gotta stop doing this. I gotta stop lying. I gotta stop procrastinating. And I know I'm like that. But 20 years from now, I'm gonna be saying the same thing. I gotta stop lying. I gotta stop doing this. So we think about it, but we don't do anything about it. And this is why I'm telling you now, and I don't want to go back to this every broadcast, but a lot of educational departments, a lot of religious ideologies, they teach you that you don't have to do anything. You see, someone has done it for you. So you don't have to do anything, even though it says you do have to do something. But they
Right.
say somebody has done it for you. So
Right.
since they've done it for you, you don't have to do anything. That's the biggest lie that's ever been told. And most of us have swallowed this thing hook, line, and sinker. And that's why we don't. So I just wanted to throw that in there because I do understand what she's saying and I agree with her. Many of us, we don't do enough self-reflection to build our character, but many of us, we do. We're spiritual people. We're always talking about the different principles of Mayat, and all this. And this is good. We're always talking about the Medu Nature. We're talking about scientific facts. Those are good things, but what are we doing about that, Chazz? Nothing but talking about it.
Well said. And then Ray had one more comment. He says, in my book, it hasn't been a good president. And I'm going to clarify this. I've told people this. I think all of them, from Trump to Abraham Lincoln, they all are rotten. They all are crooked. To get in that position, you got to be really, really messed up. So I'm agreeing with them. They all are pretty messed up. But in my opinion, if they say the lesser of the two evils, I would probably say, and I know I wasn't around, I got enough YouTube videos and stuff, I would say Kennedy was probably the best, closest to it, which he had his faults too, but he is somewhat right. All of them are pretty messed up. You got anything on that?
Yeah, because I'm going to take it out of the realm of who's been a good president, who's not been a good president. I'm going to do what I know that's right for me, that's building my character. So I'm going to look at these people, no matter who they are, white, black, or otherwise. And I'm going to base my life on morality. I'm going to base my life on what my ancestors taught me. I'm going to base my life on principles. I don't care about these people because you both are right. They've rotten as any kind of fruit. All of them. So we understand we're not talking about who's been a good president, who hasn't been a good president. That's not our show. We're talking about developing character. So how do you take Bush? How do you take all these people that have been up to no good for us as a people? And how do we glean from that? We say, I'm not going to treat my people like that. I'm going to help my people. I'm going to build my morality. I'm going to build my ethics. I'm going to build my sanity. See, that's the discussion right here, Chazz. And we've got to understand what's going on, or else we're going to fall for the banana in the tailpipe every time.
And I was, and to be clear with Raymond, I was basically telling him that it's basically about when people have a differences opinions, Democrat, Republic, we can't let these people, or if you believe in Allah, I believe in the Bible, whatever, we can't let people's opinion make us start fighting or just stop speaking with each other because you a Bush guy or you a Trump guy, and I may have been a Kamala Harris supporter. That's what I was getting at with Brother Raymond, but not so much of the best president ever. So I hope that clears things up for Brother Raymond. Number 22. Nope, I think, well, let me see here.
Yeah,
No,
I
we
think
haven't
we've
did
done
that
that.
one yet.
Oh, well, okay.
It says respect differences, appreciate that others think and live differently. Now, I don't know if I need to say anything because I literally just said that literally a
Yeah,
few seconds ago. We all have our own opinions.
yeah,
You believe in something different than what I believe in. You may like a certain president. All these things are different. But my thing is this: no matter what you believe, no matter what you do, it should have us acting a fool on election day. It shouldn't have us, rioting in the streets and all this foolishness. It should
yeah.
be about, brother, okay, you like that? Okay, no bygones. Okay, it is what it is.
And it's like our families, Chaz. Our family and my family members, a lot of them don't think like I think. Okay, I'm okay with that. My goal in this life is not to make everybody think like me. My
Right,
goal in this life is to appreciate what others think, especially if it's positive. And if it's negative, I know how to leave that alone too. But if it's positive, to appreciate what they think and understand that everybody thinks differently. But what
right,
the goal is, how can our thoughts make us better people? That's the part. That's developing character, see? And we got to stay on this because many of us, we can't, again, we can't sit in a room and talk about this subject and stay on it. We start on it and we end up somewhere else in Timbuktu. Because the point of the matter is how do we develop character? That's our subject. And number 22 says you respect differences. That's how you develop character. We can't complicate this, Chaz. This is so practical and basic. But
yeah,
again, we complicate it because we don't have character. Many of us is so low, we don't know how to just say, you know what? I need to respect differences. See, that's
right.
how we learn.
Well said. Number 23, develop courage. Face fears instead of avoiding them. Now, there are going to be things in life, for example, in 2020, when certain things came up. Now, I'm not gonna really specify what happened, but we all know what happened in 2020. I had a different opinion about it. There were some others that did. Some of these things costed people their job at that time because you had to have a note. If you didn't have this, you couldn't work, or vice versa. But you can't always avoid them and say, I'm not coming outside anymore. I'm not showing up at the job. You got to face these things head on because they're not going anywhere. And I use the year 2020 as a good example. And there's plenty of others that we can use as far as slavery. All these terrible things that happened back in the day where there were fearful tactics that people use, but like these ancestors of ours, they didn't let it stop them from standing up basically instead of running from it.
Yeah, I think about a person named Ida B. Wells. If anybody haven't heard of Ida B. Wells, you should really investigate this woman. You're talking about courage. Here's a woman who was she is a writer, okay? She was a journalist, and she wrote about the lynchings that was going on in the 1900s. They told her, don't write about the lynchings. They ran her out of one place. She went to another place, another city, and she kept writing because the people that have gotten hung, those are the people that face their fears. They didn't avoid it. They didn't have a choice in many cases, but those are my heroes. And I'm not getting off the subject because we're not talking about heroes, but the character that they showed, the character that they stood for, those were my heroes, man. They faced their fears, hanging from trees, hanging from poles. But we don't like to look at that. And that's why I want to say some crazy stuff on this broadcast because a lot of us are full of you know what, and it's I'll just say doo-doo. We're full of doo-doo because
Wow.
we don't really realize that these people that came before us, they showed us, man, what character was, but we don't want to see that because we're too busy wanting to be on a cell phone or watching a TV show or watching some kind of event. So that's why I'm saying, man, Ida B. Wells, she faced her fear. She didn't run away from them. She went to another place, and as soon as she got settled, she started the same thing, talking about how important these people that were being lynched were and how there should not have been lynching all those years.
And that takes a strong individual to do that. Because, like I said, it's easy for us to sit back in our homes and houses and talk about what we should have, would have, could have done. But at the heat of the moment, actually fighting up against that stuff, you got a lot coming at you on a second by second, day by day basis. That takes a lot of heart.
You know, and Chaz,
So,
I'm gonna say this too.
okay.
Chaz. Um, a lot of us say this, and if we were enslaved and during that time, we always say what we would have done or what we couldn't have done. A
Right.
lot of us would have been stooges as well, Chaz. No, no. And I'm saying even myself included, we would have been stooges because there is no slavery now, physical slavery. There's
Right.
mental slavery. So let's get this straight. There's no physical slavery. But look at what we're doing now. There's still oppression. There's still white on black genocide. There's still police brutality. There's still economic disparities. So it's still being done to us, and we're not doing anything. So don't tell me what you would have done. I'm not going to tell you what I would have done because we would have been the same as most of those people back then because they didn't have a lot of things to do other than be who they were. But we have more, and yet we do less. So that's all I wanted to say because I'm sick of people telling me if I was back there, this is what I would have done as far as character. No, you wouldn't have. You'd have been
Yeah.
probably the worst one. That you would have been an Uncle Tom, as they say.
Yeah, and I believe that too. I think a lot of us, if we were involved back then, and I know we're getting ready to go into the next one, but I agree with you. I think a lot of us talk a good game, but at the heat of the moment and those slave masters and stuff are coming at you, I think a lot of us
Look
would
at
have
us now,
folded. We
Chess.
would have folded.
Look at us now. We don't have to go back there. Just look at us now. That's what I'm saying. Just look at, we're not talking. This is why I'm saying many of us are hypocrites and our character needs to be developed.
Raymond has and one more comment. He says nothing wrong with being wrong, and if your intent is to do the right things, correctness should be the goal. Yeah, you should try to do the correct thing as always, and if you make a mistake, own up to it, man up to it, woman up to it, instead of always shifting the blame on others. Take the correction and try to become better. But I believe that correctness should be the goal. As we go ahead and move on to the next point here, number 24. It's this practice self-reflection. Take time to examine your thoughts and actions. And you should be doing that on a daily basis, like we said. Have we been lying a lot? Have we been stealing a lot? Have we been telling the truth? Are we showing up to work on time? All these things every day, and even myself included, I'm always taking self-reflection on, am I becoming a better person? Where am I lacking? Because I don't have it all together either. And I'm not afraid or ashamed to say that here. I got faults just like any other man or woman that's walking this earth. So, yes, you should internally ask yourself, and you don't have to always call what you call a therapy person. You should be doing that yourself. Take your own reflection and stop relying on others to do it for you.
You see, this is what the sister was saying earlier. So this was perfect what she was saying. She said in the first part of her comment that some of us that we don't do this. So now we're saying, yeah, the ones that don't, we should take time to examine our thoughts and actions. And then there's another part to that. Do something about it. Okay, now don't just take time to examine your thoughts and actions, which we should, because that's where it starts. But the finish line should be, now that I thought about how big of a hypocrite I am, I'm going to stop being a hypocrite. See, so we got to finish the deal. Self-reflection. And I heard this, and you hear this a lot. I'm working on myself. It's all about me. You hear that all the time. Chad, I know you. I know.
That's your number. I'm gonna do you like that.
Don't you hear that all the time? People say that. I'm working on myself. It's all about me. And no, we're not. What we're doing, Chaz, is, and we're going to have, maybe it'll come up this week or next week because I want to say something. I want to go on a small soliloquy about how many of us think more highly of ourselves than we should. And I'm going to save that for a little later, but I got to have discipline because I'm willing to say it now, but I know I need to wait. But we do have to practice self-reflection, Chaz. We have to think about where we're wrong. And you're right. We don't need a therapist. We don't need a counselor. We know how rotten we are and what we need to change. Do something about it.
Yeah, and like I keep telling you, and I'm gonna keep harping on this. When I went on YouTube and I ran into that main character syndrome, and I looked at all these different content creators saying the same thing, that this is a real phenomenon. This isn't just somebody has mental issues. This is a person or people in society as a collective that think that way, that they're the main character, and this garbage has got to stop. Yeah. Brother Raymond comes back in here. He says, be honest with yourself beyond the excuses. Exactly. Quit always lying to yourself. Oh, I'm perfect, or Everything is good on my end. No, it's not, and you know it's not.
And see
Uh,
that's how you develop character. See, we're saying develop character, and he's saying this is how you develop it. Be honest with yourself.
right.
If you lie to me, that's one thing. But if I lie to myself, I have duped my own self, and many of us have doing. We're thinking that, we're thinking we're someone, and it's going to come up. But
Yeah.
we're thinking that we're someone that we're not. And I gotta save it because I'm so tempted. But I'm gonna go and fall back and let you keep going.
His last comment, Ray says, shadow work matters and is a daily task. Yep, like we said earlier, daily, every second or every minute, you should always be reflecting, trying to improve and become a better version. He's absolutely right. Go ahead and move on to the next point here. Give me 1 second. Number 25.
Oh
Be
boy.
be who you are and stop trying to be someone else. Now, let me ask you this. Is this what you, if this is what you kept referring to, I'm gonna let you have the floor.
Yes, sir. And I appreciate you for moving out the way because I'm gonna steamroll down this road right now.
Okay.
Be who you are. Stop trying to be someone else. Now, it's really silly to me to see who you are, to know who you are, and to think that you're somebody else. You change your voice when you get around certain people. You walk a certain way when you get on different clothes. If you have a little extra money that comes in, you begin to look haughty at yourself and look down upon others. You
Yeah.
want to be someone that you're not. Instead
Yeah.
of trying to imitate someone else, accept who you are, work on your flaws, continue to manage the strengths, but stop trying to be someone that you're not. You are not Michael Jordan. I am not LeBron James. You are not a famous singer. I am not a famous person. You
Right.
are not that person that we want to be. You
Right.
are you. And this is
Right.
what develops character. Quit trying to be like people, even in your family, that you are not. Love who you are, express who you are, and grow. Stop thinking that you're someone else because you are you. And that right there is an insane concept when you know who you are, but you think you're somebody else. I'm done with it, Chaz.
And I'm not making excuses. I'm basically piggybacking off what you said. I think a lot of that where it comes from is social media, the movies, and a lot of these TV shows that we're watching. That's we see some of these characters like Denzel Washington and all these guys, and we like how they're acting. Like he said now, and I'm gonna get off of it. King Kong ain't got nothing on me. Now, when he said that, a lot of people at that time they kept walking around saying that, and I kept thinking they got that off of him, and they really were trying to emulate Denzel. But that's what I'm getting at. That goes exactly to what you said. People really were thinking that they were him when he said that. And like you said, we're our own individuals. We have our own mistakes. We have our own flaws. But there's nothing wrong with being what you call you want to be inspired by that individual, but walking around thinking that you really are, like you said, these people, this is really bad and it's got to stop. But I think this has been on the global scale here that a lot of us think that we're Steve Harvey and a lot of these other guys.
Because we, Raymond says trying to be popular is shallow. He's right. And see, this is another character development. He's dealing with it today.
Yeah.
Developing character has to be stop trying to be so popular because it's shallow. And see, this is what I'm saying, Chaz. That group thinking is terrible. And once we, again, every time I talk, I say the same thing. But we got to do a broadcast on group thinking because group thinking will mess you up. It'll make you think something because everybody else is thinking that. And what they're thinking is not correct. But because of, as Raymond said, because of shallow thinking, we go along with the group. If the group
Yeah.
says
Yeah.
let's do it, let's do it. If the group says that the skies are going to crack open, that's fine. If the group says, we should be able to use certain Egyptian words and say magical incantation, that's fine. If
Yeah.
Allah says this group thinking is terrible because it doesn't give you a chance to be individualistic when it comes to what we need to do. And when we need to have group thinking as far as putting our resources together, making sure we have hospitals, grocery stores, make sure we have banks, credit unions, then we don't want to have group thinking.
Yeah.
So you see how we're backwards. We're turned around, man.
There's another concept, and I know you're going to say this got all these concepts. Now, there's another concept called the hive mind, and it's basically where a group of people, no matter what their race is, it's where they all come together and they all think a certain way. And it's a shame that These are real theories out there. You can YouTube it or
I
Google it,
believe it.
and it's a shame that people have this kind of mindset to where they can't think for themselves. They always need someone else's authority or their opinion to have a take on something, which is nothing wrong with hearing what others have to say. But when you always look whatever they say or whatever he says, I'm going to agree with it. That's just a doggone shame.
Chazz,
But that's just
one of the things that I look at too is every now and then you may ask me or I may ask you what you think about that. We just want to know generally what we think. But a lot of people, that's all they say because that's that group mentality. If the group says go put, and I've often said this and I believe it. If everybody in the NBA put some cow manure on their head,
Come on.
And I'm exaggerating for effect. And that was the style. At first, we would say, I ain't doing that. Man, that's crazy. But if everybody else does it, before you know it, you'll see me with some on my head and say, well, Jay, what are you doing? Because everybody's doing it. Case in point, sagging your pants. At first we said, what? Man, that's crazy. Ain't nobody gonna be showing their butt.
Yeah.
But then before you know it, now it's being done. Then we try to make sure that the excuse that we give, justify it. Well, that's because of this. But you see, if an entertainer tells us to do something, was it Nelly you told me before? That Band-Aid, I never knew what that Band-Aid, I love Brother Nelly. I never knew what that Band-Aid was for, but I saw a lot of people with Band-Aid. In fact, I'm going to get me a Band-Aid and put it under my eye. So this is what
and I'll take it a step further. We have a fun here. LL Cool J, back in the day, he used to walk around with his jeans, one leg rolled up, the other one down. Now, everybody started doing, and I kept wondering what on. And it dawned on it was because of LL. He started doing that. Now everybody start walking around with one leg up, one leg down. That's the hive mind.
And you'll never develop character doing that.
Brother Raymond fires in here. He says, stand on your standards and conviction squarely, even if you must stand alone. And we talked about that earlier. That was one of our talking points. We were basically saying that even if this is meaning that you're going to stand by yourself, fight for it. So what if people mock you? So what if people criticize you? So what if people start calling you names? But you have to be able to stand on your own without always needing an audience or applause. Let me see here. Somebody else just commented. Sister Mashonda says that was the style back in the day. She's talking about LL. Yeah,
see, and I'm having fun with her too. I'm having fun with her too. They say that was the style. But the style, see, that was the style, but then who defined that style for us? Yeah. Who told us that was the style? Because everybody started doing it, so we said that was the style. No, that was not really the style, but to us, it was the style. It was an entertainment who used propaganda to shift our thinking into doing something that we otherwise would not have done. I know that it's not normal to put a Band-Aid under your eye and you're not cut. But because, as she said, that was the style. And she said LOL, so we're having fun with it because that shows how massive manipulation is something that affects us as African Americans. All we got to do is have an entertainer or many of them do it, and you're going to get it, just like some of these weave styles. And I'm not against weave because, we can wear, because I used to wear Jerry curl. So who am I to talk about weave? It's just that when we see something and it looks good to us, everybody does it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have anything to do with developing character.
This is a fun broadcast. We having fun with you guys here because some probably say these guys are so serious. They never show any kind of comedy. We letting our hair down today. We're just having a good time here with you guys. But we really do appreciate your comments for hanging in there with us today. Now, number 27, it says, look at your well-being. Take care of yourself, body and mind. Now, we talk about this a lot. Exercise if you don't have any surgeries. Try to take care of your mind. Read. Find out on YouTube and Google all these avenues that you can find out how to become sharper with the brain. Always trying to find out what can I put in my body that gives me more energy, that's healthy, all these things. And this basically goes hand in hand with taking care of your well-being. And the last one I forgot, I got to say this one. You got to stop stressing. I bet you our cortisol levels are be out of this world because of our jobs, those of us who have kids, those of us who have constant bills. We are always stressing. And once again, there are going to be things in life that's going to, make us angry. But brother, I'm pretty sure if you had a meter that can detect each person's stress and cortisol levels, I know they got to be out the roof. And
Yeah,
that's some of it. That's why our blood pressure is high.
and that's why we can't develop character, because we're not doing what number 27 says. We're not looking out for our well-being. And I spoke with you about this before we came on the show tonight about Dr. Eric Johnson. I'm doing everything I can to get Dr. Eric Johnson to come on here. Here's an African American young man. He's no more than 40 years old. He has his PhD. He's a doctor, but he's a nutritionist. And we're going to grill this man. If I can get Dr. Eric Johnson to come on here, we're going to talk to him until the cows come home about the importance of taking care of ourselves. This ain't no stuff that, Chazz and Jahi said, do this, do that. We're going to get it from a PhD, a man that's young, that looks like us, who's down to earth, who can share with us information, because a lot of us don't take care of ourselves. So when we get Dr. Eric Johnson on, I want to promote that so we can get as many viewers as possible, because he's like us too, Chazz. He's a straight shooter, but you're going to get it right from the horse's mouth. A PhD who says what we eat is very important with how we act and how that affects us and all of that good stuff.
Yeah. And once again, I got to keep harping on this, because once I started hearing about this, like I said, our cortisol, that is basically the stress hormone. If we do not get that in check, I don't care how old you are. You could be a teenager, you could be an older adult. You're going to find yourself on a lot of medications. A lot of health issues are going to start rising, because and here's the thing, we can't stop all this stuff coming at us, putting out a fire here, putting out a fire there. You can't stop all these things. So you got to say, control what you can control and back up, because you cannot stop all this stuff coming at you.
We've done many broadcasts, Chazz, on stress with the mind and all of that. It's crazy, man.
Brother Ray says fad/fashional. He's talking about, I guess, Nelly and them. And then he says, be your tried and proven best ally. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, let me go ahead and move on to the next one here. It says, no, many people want to be someone else, but don't accept who they really are. This is a sick mind. Now, this is something we talked about a little bit earlier. Now, I'll let you have the floor again, and I'll just sit back in the back seat.
This note, we need to take this note to heart, because many of us, we want to be, now we won't admit it, Chazz, because that's embarrassing, but we want to be someone else. We don't like what we see in the mirror. We don't like who we see in the mirror, but we don't accept who we see. So that is a sick mentality. That's a psychosis that we have to do a broadcast on, because only a sick person would see themselves, but then think in their mind that they're not who they are. I don't know how much more to say, Chazz. You would never develop character. That's why a lot of times when we do things, people they try to put their best foot forward. They want you to think of them a certain way. As I said earlier, they change their voices, because they want you to think like we're talking now. Then when I get a phone call, I change my voice, and you're like, John, you don't talk like that. But I'm trying to impress that person on the phone. Or if I have on certain clothes, and I'm walking and people say, man, you sharp. I want to throw my shoulders up more now so people can see. It's like we really don't love who we are. So we're trying to be someone that we're not. And that's sad, because we've deceived our own selves.
Yeah. And like you said, we got to just be who we are, even if the things that you call the things that we don't have, learn to accept the things that we don't have, and work with what you got. Now, once again, it's easier said than done, but I think a lot of us, especially in the African-American community, we suffer from this a lot. We always want to emulate and be like others. Number 26, develop resilience, recover and grow after setbacks. Now, I talked about this earlier, and I'll say it again. When things get hard, when things go south, when things go left, get your butt back up. And I know it's easy for me to say that, but you got to, because life is too short to throw in the towel and not come back outside and just hide from the world. You got to keep going, because if you don't, 9 times out of 10, when you get older, you're going to be having all these setbacks, wishing you could have did this, wishing you could have did that, hoping and wondering what could have happened if you would have did this. But instead of always folding up, keep trucking and keep pushing through it.
And if you don't do what Chazz just said, and I'm going to tell you what's going to happen to you and myself included. If you don't develop resilience and develop character and recover after you have setbacks, you're going to end up getting your character out of violence, out of greed, out of chaos, out of gossip, out of manipulation, out of corruption, out of deceit, out of exploitation, and out of despair. So you're going to have to choose now. You're going to
Okay.
have to choose between what you want to do. You want to
Okay.
develop character and come back because we all going to fall, get back up. So we want to encourage you, or you're going to keep going down to where it's so far down that your character is so low that people going to think you're something that you really aren't.
Wow. We appreciate you guys for checking, staying with us tonight. We got a couple more comments before we wrap up. Sister Barbara fires in here and says, I think Dr. Chazz has already come in adults only. I have to ask her, what do you mean by that?
Because you keep using all these concepts. That's what she said. Doctors always come in and they use concepts, and then people kind of think about what they said, and you talking about all these things you study. So that's what it is, Dr. Chazz. That's all.
Okay. I'm glad y'all clarified that for me. Brother Ray comes in after her and says, many don't know themselves. Sounds crazy, but often too common. Yeah, especially when you learn where we come from, all the things that we've built in the society, all the things that our ancestors stuff have created. A lot of us, if we knew where we came from, we would be proud of ourselves instead of always trying to emulate the European man and the European woman, which we don't have anything against those brothers and sisters. We love all races. Let's be clear here. But a lot of us run to act like them when we don't know who we truly are and who we come from.
And see, I want to piggyback off of that too. Let me go back to Ray, what Ray said. That's important because he's right about that. But I'm going to add to that. So I'm on the same page here on. Again, I'm always throwing in metaphors. So this is like chapter 2 of this, what he said. Many of us don't want to know ourselves. See, he says many of us don't know ourselves, and we don't. But many of us don't care to know ourselves. We have been so deranged. Our minds have been taken at childbirth. And all we know now is what the educational system has given us, what the religious system has given us, what our family has given us, what our friends have, and a lot of that stuff is not good. So it's not crazy, Brother Ray. It doesn't sound crazy. It's often because that's where we are today. So we got to start telling people, how would you like to know yourself? That's the problem, because we don't develop character because we don't know ourselves. We don't want to know ourselves. And no, that doesn't sound crazy because that's where many of us are today.
All right. And then Sister Barbara had one more comment. She says the artificial intelligence is really gone left with our Black queens, changing their physical appearance and keeping it as their profile, not appreciating the real you. And here's the thing, I'll take it a step farther. That was an excellent comment, but the AI has created a look that us humans can never duplicate. All these filters, all these perfect images, us human beings will never be able to be like that. And we're going to drive ourselves crazy, always comparing ourselves to those things. And we'll never be able to live up to that. And that's a shame that a lot of us are taking our lives as well because we can't live up to it.
I'm going to ask you a question, Chazz. I know we piggybacking off each other. We might have to stop now because it's almost time, but I want to ask you a question. You mentioned something about filters. I'm going to ask you a question. Here it is.
Okay.
Why do we use filters as a people? Why can't we just show an image of ourselves? Why do we put all those filters on our faces and stuff on social media?
Let me be clear. From what I've seen, and I don't want to come off as sexist here, for the most part, there may be a few guys that do it, but for what I've seen, it's normally the women that do it.
But why? But why, Chazz? But why, Chazz? Why?
The women that do it is because they have low self-esteem and they probably want to look better because they feel like the way that they actually look, they don't like what they look. They're ashamed of how they look. So they use the filters to feel better about themselves. Now, I'll be clear. If there are some brothers doing it, and I'm not trying to be, I'm being fair for the most part. I barely see brothers do it. I'm always seeing the women do it. And for the women that are doing it, I believe it becomes from A, low self-esteem, and B, they don't like how they look.
Wow, that was good, Chazz. That was really good. Wow.
Sister Barbara had another comment. She says, because we don't like us, the real us. Yeah, I guess she's commenting about the filter. And here's the thing. If people are going to do it, they're going to do it. I'm not judging them. But like you said, a lot of us, the people that are using those filters, it's because they don't really like how they look. And
Chazz, okay, I'm going back, and I know we got to stop now. You don't need to put up any more notes, anything. You could even take this one down. But I'm just saying, we're just talking now, Chazz, but I'm trying to get you to understand something.
Okay.
I know what you just said, and what you just said is very powerful. And what the sister said is powerful. What Brother Raymond said is profound. But what I'm trying to get us all to see, and I think we know this, and I'm going to say this. I'm going to say 5 words, and that's not going to end it, but that's going to kind of set the record straight.
Okay.
As far as the filter and all this other stuff, you are who you are.
Yeah.
I mean, Chaz,
Yeah.
I mean, that was one of the most profound things I've ever said. I think I want to put that on the shirt and start wearing it, because that was mind blowing to me. Now it might be weak to some other people, but that right there is that captures everything we're saying as far as character right now.
Yeah.
You are who you are. I don't get that.
Sister Mashonda fires in here. She said, laugh out loud. We appreciate that. And then Brother Raymond says social filters too. Yeah. And like I said, I guess those filters, it's a shame, and it's getting so bad. And I'm gonna say this. I really don't like talking about this, so I'm gonna just say this. I'm
Okay.
hearing on a lot of these theories too. The people who are on these dating apps, they put these filters on, and brother, it's so real. They've got this stuff so good with technology. You can't tell. And then when you meet up with that person who's on that dating app, they're not who they look like. So a lot of the brothers are getting frustrated because they feel like they've been duped, they've been gypped.
Go with all that stuff.
But that goes hand in hand with the filters, brother. And that's why these filters are so dangerous, because it blurs you can't tell what's what now.
You're
That's
crazy, Chaz. You crazy, man.
and I guess that's how we'll wrap it up with these filters. And maybe we should do something on, and I know we always think in the concepts, and we may have to do something on these filters, because it's all over YouTube, it's all over all these apps, TikTok, and you can tell some of them. But brother, I'm gonna say this and I'll pass it, I promise. It's getting so good, like I just mentioned. You can't tell because these filters are getting so realistic.
Chaz, you
can't
crazy.
tell that they're fake.
Okay, but what happened to this, Chaz? Say it loud. I'm black and I'm proud. What happened to all that? Doesn't mean anything anymore.
I hate to say it, brother, but not now. Not in this generation. Now, a lot of us, we not hearing that James Brown stuff. We don't want to hear it. That is done. This is a new era. This is a new religion. Everything is new now. And these young folks, like I like to call them, they aren't playing. They're playing for keeps. And I'll read a couple more comments. And we appreciate you guys. This is a fun broadcast. We have fun. This brother is just laughing his behind off. This is a good show. We telling you guys about character, all of these things, and we appreciate you guys for sticking with us. Sister Mashonda says stolen identity. Yeah. And then Brother Ray says peace, love.
Oh, man.
And that's all I got to say, brother. I appreciate you for having me on. I'll let you, because I normally close it out. Do you have any final remarks here?
Yeah, we're going to pick it up next week and continue this because, again, ladies and gentlemen, this broadcast is all about developing character. The African-American man and woman, a lot of times we don't look at character. We sugarcoat it or we gloss over it. But we need to just stop and get in the pocket right there and look at ways or what we can do to become better people. Because as we define character at the outset of the broadcast, character is what's on the inside of you. And if what's on the inside of you and I are not correct, then we're going to try to do things to get right. And we don't have to, other than take care of those shortcomings that we have. But all this other stuff we're talking about, that's, side notes. This is what happens when a people become so foolish that they don't want to love what's inside of them. They don't want to work on that. And as Brother Ray always say, in order to have peace, in order to have this peace, he always ends our shows with this peace, love, and respect, which is beautiful. In order to have this peace, you got to love yourself. Yeah. You've got to develop character. In order to love yourself, you got to develop character. In order to respect yourself, you've got to develop character. So I think we owe this one more week, Chaz, at least one more week, so we can talk about maybe some other aspects of this developing character, because this thing has gotten out of control. And again, I think you hit the nail on the head earlier when you first started talking about how all of us as a people, we should sit back and look at what we're dealing with and then work on those things to become better people. And that's all I have to say tonight. I appreciate you all tuning in. Tell somebody about this broadcast, like this broadcast, share this broadcast so people can say there are two guys that love us so much that they're going to talk about developing character. Yeah, they're having fun tonight, but the bottom line is what they're saying is true, so we can be serious about that.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me on as always. We hope to see you guys next week. Remember, share this, tell someone about it, and we thank you guys for all viewing this broadcast. Take care, everybody.